I will also tell, this is something that I've noticed people say, and I'm sure you've heard this question as well, is I understand it's a child. I understand it's living and it's great, but the child's still in the womb. The woman's having to carry this child for 9 months. It's changing her life completely. And we already touched about agency of women, especially in India, right? So keeping that in mind, they still feel like it should be a woman's choice, because if she gives birth to this child, her life is going to be altered just negatively. But I know that you have worked with so many women. And so I want to ask you this question. Does abortion empower women?
Okay, so that's my big slogan here. Abortion is not women empowerment. And again, I can give you some examples. We can sit over a whole mug of coffee and I can tell you stories of women who have literally been empowered by giving birth, especially rape victims, and that's a big hot topic as well. But if we just look at what it does to the mother, the side effects that it can have, an abortion, it is just crazy. Look at China, okay? So China, we all remember the one-child policy, where they literally had a specific police force which their only job was to find illegally pregnant women, meaning they were pregnant with their second child or their third child. These women literally had to hide in their houses, but then the neighbor would call the police and say, "Oh, she hasn't come out in a couple of weeks. I wonder," And then literally there's stories of this police forces coming into the houses and performing forced abortions. Then you have other not quite as traumatic, but still traumatic stories where women just, they just submitted to the authorities and to the laws and even though they didn't want to have the abortion, they wanted a second child, they still went in for the abortion. And look at China. China was the only country which had a suicide rate higher among women than among men. And then there's lots of data that can show that as well, just the psychological damage that it brings to a woman. There's studies that show that, that women who have had an abortion are 3 times more likely to commit or to attempt suicide than women who have carried to term. And then if you put that in a teenager context, it's 10 times higher. So it's this thought, we need to protect the teenagers, especially if they've been rape victims, No, you're actually, this is going to backfire immensely, right? And then you have all the physiology. I mean, the side effects on the woman's body. There's a huge array of research from the subcontinent, from India, which shows the connection between an abortion and subsequent breast cancer. And we have a huge issue with breast cancer, with cervical and breast cancer in this nation. And cervical cancer can be also due to the damage caused by the abortion instruments. And breast cancer is also linked very heavily. All of these studies showed, there were 12 studies performed on the subcontinent, and all of these 12 studies showed a link between abortion and breast cancer. Now, just give me one more minute on this topic because it's so important. In the West, there's so many studies which show, there isn't a link. Yes, there is a link. And, research always shows what you want it to show kind of thing. The main arguments that the pro-abortionists have against this link between abortion and subsequent breast cancer is, well, these women have breast cancer and they did have an abortion before, but the breast cancer is because they're taking hormonal contraceptives, they are not breastfeeding their babies that they have later on, they have babies really late on in their life, which are all factors which can contribute to breast cancer. Now put this in the Indian context. In India, women are having their babies at young ages and they nurse their babies. And, the vast majority of Indians do not take hormonal contraceptives. So all of these arguments are put aside. So now let's look at the bare facts without these so-called reasons that, in the West, women have this breast cancer. And you come to a very clear link between abortion and breast cancer. And these are things that women are not being taught. And this is just one. There are so many other side effects. Pelvic inflammatory disease leading to infertility. Do we have an issue with infertility in this country? Yes. There's just so many issues. So when I say abortion is not women empowerment, you can see I'm getting quite, because it's not, it's a very short-lived relief. I agree. And the vast majority of women coming out of the abortion clinic will say, oh, thank God it's over. Now let me return to my old life. Probably not going to happen. You're probably might end up with nightmares at night, hearing a baby cry. You run into the next door, there's no baby. You're struggling with insomnia, broken relationships between husbands, the guilt, the blame game. Why didn't you stop me? Why did it, and then, this suicide. Why should I live if my baby, the inability to bond with the next baby, or the over-mothering with the next baby, the overprotecting. It breaks women, literally. How dare we say that this is women empowerment? It is not.